Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and this is Joel Fieri, and we're going to take a Christian perspective on a pretty rough thing. I'm going to say be a little sunny here and say good morning. How you guys doing? Because today we're not going to have much of a sunny. It's not going to be very. In some ways, it'll be positive, obviously, but I want to tackle kind of a rough subject here, and let me see in the comments. We got AC is here, and Lucas is here. All right, good to see you guys. I'm going to play this video. I do the standard disclaimer at first. It's going to be a little rough, so especially to start. I'm going to add it to the stage here and see how my internet is doing these days. So that's a pretty big picture of me and a small picture of it. So here we go. I'm going to try it this way. That's better. All right. And let's go ahead and play it.
The Inter-Society reports that 7,087 Christians were killed in Nigeria between January 1st and August 10th, and that 7,800 were abducted in the same period. The report identified Benue State and Nigeria Middle Belt as among the hardest hit, with at least 1,100 deaths, including the Yalawata massacre in June, with 280 Christians were killed. Rob, if you have a clip to play, is this the clip of the gentleman explaining what's going on, or this is the one them running out? Okay, go for it. It's after church service, I believe, by the way.
That's every gunshot you're hearing is hitting in person.
My people, my family members, they died in this house. 11. And some died in the other store. 8. Some died here. My whole family members that died yesterday, day before yesterday, on that very day, there were 20. That is my own family members. I'm not talking about any other thing. That's my own family members.
Okay. So like I said, that's a little rough way to start the morning, but let's not do let's get a little good news here. Baby was born yesterday, Joel. Baby girl Lyric. Okay, well, Lyric. That name says a lot. The singing for joy, right? That's great. Congratulations. Mitch is here. An important subject the Western Church should pay attention. This is an important subject. Absolutely. So this is something obviously that's been going on for a long time, and it's funny. The thing that, I would say the person that brought this to my attention, and he's brought it to the attention of everyone lately, and why in the world is, let me see here. Let's continue the take here of, and add this back to the stage here because I want to continue on with this. And he's going to go to one of his panel members for a reaction to this. And I want to move it up to about right there. So
going back to exactly what I was talking about, and it's like, I'm going to be honest. I had no idea. And why is that? Because the mainstream media doesn't give a damn, and they're not reporting this. It took Bill Maher. And you guys know me. I'm one of the most critical about this freaking guy, TDS. He goes back, he goes left, he goes right. It took him having Nancy Mace on to bring this up. Bob, you want to play this clip? Yeah, play this clip, please.
Nigeria. I mean, the fact that this issue has not gotten on people's radar.
Right, no one's talking about it.
It's pretty amazing. If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck.
Yep.
You are in a bubble. And again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
Yeah. Thank you.
Great point.
Thank you. Because no one will talk about it, so thank you.
Absolutely.
And so why? Is it because he said this, but Adam, I know you said this at the point. I got to give you credit where credit's due. No Jews, no news. Okay? Where this
Okay. So why is it lately it seems like Bill Maher is being the conscience of the country and the conscience of conservatives? Every single subject, every time I do research on a subject for this show, half the time Bill Maher comes up and he's talking about it from the conservative perspective. He's bringing more attention to things like transgenderism, things like the war in Gaza, or the attack on Israel, we should say, and the craziness of liberalism. But Bill Maher, he's still steeped in the craziness himself, but he seems to be the guy that is bringing these things to the consciousness of the country better than Christians are, better than conservatives are. And it just is this little backwards world we're in here. And he's right. If you don't know what is going on in Nigeria, your media stinks. I'll clean it up a little from what he said. But it's not really that. It's not just that the media stinks. It's that we kind of stink, especially as Christians, and especially me, because I'm trying to think, why has nobody talked about this? And then because we don't care. Okay, it's out in Africa. And what the guy said at the end of that clip was true. No Jews, no news. There's an agenda to talk about Gaza and Israel and the phony, gymmed up genocide that's there, which is not really a genocide, because it involves the Jews and this rise of, that anti-Semitism or whatever you want to call it. But you don't want to go that far and call it that. At least this obsession with what the Jews are doing sells. People will watch it. People will comment on it. People are invested in that one way or another, I guess. True. If you're pro-Israel, you're invested because you care about Israel. And if you're anti, I guess you had to figure that out for yourself. I'm sure there are some pro-Israel people that think it's going too far, but why just Israel? Why, if it's not a case of anti-Semitism or being against Israel, then why are we obsessing about what Israel is doing? Why aren't we equally obsessed with what's happening in Nigeria? Or like Michael has made his whole channel about and his whole online presence about is Artsakh, right? What's happening between what the Azerbaijanis are doing to the Armenians in that region. Nobody's talking about that other than Michael. So why is it just that? It's because it sells, and that's what the Jews are. They are a lightning rod. They are God's chosen people. Ever since God chose them as a people, they've been a lightning rod. So let's see. What do you guys say? This is an important subject. Pay attention. I said that. I already showed that. Hi, Jacqueline. So love everyone. I knew that there were problems, but we are still not hearing about it. I knew that women were being taken captive and raped. Yeah, we did hear about it a couple years ago, a few years back. And I remember there were some teenage girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. And I remember Michelle Obama famously said, bring back our girls or whatever. And a lot of people criticized her for that because, it was a nice thought, but it doesn't do anything. Putting up a meme, a lot of times we think just putting up a meme is going to do something. Like Boko Haram is going to see that and think, oh, okay, here's your girls back. So AC, I've only seen this on X and no one else is talking about it. And And that brings me to my point, one of my points. And I just realized this morning as I'm, thinking self-righteously, why isn't anyone talking about this? Well, why haven't I been talking about this? I want to show you something. Take this guy off, and I'm going to add something to the stage here. I'm sorry. I need to stop sharing is what I need to do. Again, me and my struggles with this. I'll be good at this one day. I promise you. So I want to show you my inbox, because this is, there we go. This makes me guilty of this because, and I'm sure you guys are seeing it, I'm not. Here it is. Again, very slow on my end. There is a group, a father and son, Jay and Jordan Sekulow, and they run a ministry called the American Center for Law and Justice. And they have been on this crusade. And I want you to look at this. If you can see it, this is my inbox, and I've selected American Center for Law and Justice and Nigeria. And just since August, they've sent me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 different emails about Nigeria, what's happening in Nigeria. And they send me weekly emails, or maybe twice weekly, about other places around the world. In Congo, Eastern Congo, there's the same type of persecution as in Nigeria. In Iran, you go in Afghanistan, right? Pakistan, go around just around the world, and there's so many hotspots where there's been these Christian genocides. I've been getting it once or twice a week, and I have a show where I talk about Christians' perspective on issues, and I haven't even touched this because I don't care. I guess it took Bill Maher to get me to care about this, because it was it was Bill freaking Maher, okay? And all of a sudden everybody started talking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been getting emails about this forever. And I'm going to show you, this time I think I'll do it right. I would like to show you the, let me see. Let's see, share screen. I'm going to send you this website there, and so you just can see who they are. I'm going to add stage. So this is the American Center for Law and Justice, and they, when they're not, obviously they're nonprofit, so they have a lot of fundraising, but then they have the persecuted church. They have Bill Maher here too, because everyone now is talking about Bill Maher. Thank you, Bill Maher, for talking about this. But Islamic State monsters in East Congo target funeral, latest massacre of Christians, right here. I guess it won't highlight. So endangered species have more protections than Christians in Congo. In Syria, evidence shows slaughter of Christians and religious minorities. Okay, and it goes on. So all that to say, I'm just as guilty as anyone else. So, and I was raised to be a world Christian, to think in terms of not just Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, but the ends of the earth. All right. Jesus told us to take the gospel to all nations. And it's obviously it has been taken to places like Nigeria and the Congo and Syria, because people have brought the gospel to all nations, right? And so there's a church universal. Okay. And we don't seem to care about them. I don't seem to care about them, to my shame. And the God has really convicted me on this, because we get caught up in our little problems here in the world. But and the reason I say that is because we seem to have lost sight of something, even in the evangelical world, as we try and reach out and be salt and light in our little part of the world, in our Jerusalem, and maybe even our Judea and Samaria. We lose sight of the fact that our first obligation, especially the New Testament is very clear on this. Our first obligation is to our brothers and sisters, is to the body of Christ. Okay, love the brotherhood. First, Jesus said to his disciples, "Love each other." Okay, the best witness we have is to love each other within the church, and these people are our brothers and sisters in Christ. And I'm kind of kicking myself now because there was a video of the people after this massacre who have gone back to that church, and they're still worshiping there. And they burned the church down, right? That man in Nigeria was telling about all that. He went on to show all the buildings that they burned down, and the Christians there went right back to that church and started worshiping there, even though they know that Boko Haram or ISIS can come back at any point and finish the job. But they're out there without walls, worshiping, singing, and praying, because where else are they going to go? What else are they going to do? So, and that's true worship. When you can, when you can do that, when you can hang on to your faith right in the middle of persecution like that, that is true worship. And the amount of faith there is so far beyond what I have in my life and what I see around me. So, let's see. Let's hear you guys chime in on this. Jacqueline, Christians try not to be noisy. We do not like conflict. You're right, we don't. We're Christians, we're nice people, right? We don't like conflict. We need to be all on the same page and realize that satanic influence is subtle, hard to know who the enemy is. Well, they know who the enemy is there, right? But here you're right, here it's a little more subtle. Satan works disguises himself as an angel of light here. Morning, Mitch. John B. Wells has been reporting on this subject and the plight of Christians in South Africa too. His channel radio show is Caravan to Midnight. I'll have to check that out. Thanks for sharing that, Mitch. Yeah, it's happening in South Africa too. It is. So that's human nature, I guess. I mean, we have, and I've been talking about this too, in the cultural moment we're in right now, where obviously overt violence has been, the door has been opened up on that with Charlie Kirk, with President Trump. Again, President Trump was probably more a political thing. Charlie Kirk was half political, half spiritual, because Charlie was quite a witness for his faith, and he tied his faith into everything that he was doing. So, again, it's just this time of peace we've had, peace and prosperity that we've enjoyed here, especially me being in Southern California, but even in all of the United States. And reality is starting to creep back in, because, we've been, a little sleep, a little slumber, according to Proverbs, and the thief comes in the night, right? So we've gone complacent. So all that to say, I'm not throwing stones here at all. And I'm trying to take the log out of my own eye before I go and criticize anybody else for not talking about this, because I've had this platform for however long, a couple of years now, and I haven't said not a thing about this. And I get it, like I said, I get it twice a week in my mailbox. So, so I just wanted to bring everyone's attention to that, because good old Bill Maher, he beat me to it. Good for you, Bill. You're still a little blind to certain things, but for a man of the left, I find myself admiring him more and more, even though in the past I couldn't stomach the man. But he's a truth seeker. The truth seems to be eluding him in a lot of ways, but he at least recognizes it when he sees it, when it's overt like this, and he calls out what needs to be called out. And I think he's called out us as a church, as Christians, for not focusing on persecution all over the world, that our brothers and sisters, the ones we are supposed to love, the ones we are supposed to have our first obligation to. And we won't even petition our government to tell their government to stop. And in a lot of the reports I've seen in my research on this, really that's all they're asking for, is for our government, to pressure our government, to tell their government to take. There's a few minor steps that we could take to focus on this, and sanctions, things like that, put pressure on the Nigerian government to put us into this, because they're not. The Nigerian government doesn't really care. So I think we could at least do that. So I'm going to try to be a little more focused on that as we go forward. Maybe make that a recurring theme. The persecuted Christians are brothers and sisters around the world. So it's the least we can do for them. So I wanted to get, let's see, any more comments on that? Nobody's comments on that. I also want to focus, I want to have a California story for you. And comparatively speaking, it's not nearly what we just talked about. But, every once in a while, I like to share some things with you guys about the state I'm living in, because most of you are not in California. And I don't know if anybody is, but this is kind of a dry thing. It has to do with some legislature that was passed. But it says California legislature overrides local zoning to boost transit-oriented development. And you might think, what's up with that? So what? There is a bill that has been passed and is about to be signed by Governor Newsom, good old Governor Newsom, right? And what it is, it's allowing really developers, and the state will come in and override local government zoning laws, right? City zoning laws, by building high density housing along rail lines. And it's trying to get people out of their cars and onto public transit, which has never worked in California. This is the high-speed rail boondoggle in microcosm. And the idea is to get more workers. Okay, the idea is workers. They see people who have jobs and who are pursuing raising their families and providing as workers. And what it's doing really is, they nailed it here in this article, it's reshaping the American dream. Okay. And I'm going to read this little thing for you because I think it's really telling on this. Okay. So it's talking about this one lady who was against it. And then it goes on to say, reshaping the American dream. Many of her fellow legislators, Democrat and Republican alike, they disagreed with this bill. The Senate ultimately passed the bill by the narrowest possible margin. The Assembly was equally close, with just 43 of the chamber's 83 members supporting it. And here's the quote I'd like to see. This blunt, one-size-fits-all bill will not work for a district like mine, said Assemblymember Rick Chavez-Zabor, a Los Angeles Democrat who represents portions of Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, and Hollywood. For many Californians, living in a single-family neighborhood fulfills a lifelong dream, the American dream. So why am I focused on this? I just went from this really heavy subject to this relatively bland, legislative battle going on in San Diego, but it really is about the American dream. Oh, Lucas, you got a comment here. An intelligent man realizes when he's ignorant and fixes it. A fool never sees the light. We shall see with Bill Maher. Yeah, right. For a man who's been mostly a fool all his life, I think he's starting to see the light. It's been interesting to follow his arc. So back to this legislation. What it is, really, it's a worldview conflict here. It's a clash of worldviews. And believe it or not, there are still people in California that do value and subscribe to the American dream. They want to pursue the American dream, and they want their fellow Californians to pursue the American dream. But this idea, and I think I've talked about it before here, this idea of high density housing on transit, rail, and bus lines, it's mostly transit lines. It's really a socialist kind of humanist worldview. It's not, it goes in direct conflict with the American dream and certainly the California dream as it's been. And this assemblyman nails it. He goes, people are pursuing the American dream. Home ownership is one of the main, foundations of the American dream. It makes you independent. It lets you raise a family. It lets you take ownership of something. But people, and I mentioned this not long ago, people who live in high rises, they don't really own anything. Even a condo, even if you own a condo, you own the air inside the condo. Really, if that, you can't do anything to it. You can't add on to it. There's no yard for your kids to run in. There's no patio. There might be a little patio to have friends over, but it's a box. It's a pod. And that's the socialist kind of Marxist ideal for citizens, workers. I would find that term offensive if I was referred to as just a worker. Is that my only identity, that I'm a worker? Well, yeah, in the Marxist worldview and the socialist worldview, that is. You're just a worker. You don't really have that identity that separates you from anybody else. You're supposed to be like everyone else. And when you put people in these little pods and these little apartments, one on top of the other, you have a population you can control right there. And those people will be totally dependent on the government and the owner. First of all, the owners of that building, they don't own it. They're not responsible for anything. They're not responsible for raising the property values of that by improving, So, and then they're dependent on the government for everything else, for your utilities, trash, all this thing. It's this perfect little socialist model. And it's growing here in California. And if you look at it, ties loosely into what's happening in places like Nigeria. If you take a look around at some of these videos, the housing people have and the infrastructure is just awful because nobody really owns anything. There's no American dream type of incentive in most of the rest of the world. So most of the rest of the world are hellholes like Nigeria. But the thing that separates us is that ownership. American dream is not one thing. It's not a house and a picket fence. American dreams means you own whatever you have, whatever you want is yours to pursue, and you take ownership of it. When you don't have ownership of your surroundings and if you're dependent on the government for everything, that's the anti-American dream. And that's what leads to kind of a breakdown of society and poverty growing. I wish I could show you pictures when I was in Romania, when I was in my 20s. The communist regime there built nothing but high-rise apartment buildings, solid block. Solid blocks if you went to the cities there. So the communist government could control everybody. They're all there. They could control them. That's what's being pursued in California. And it's this dry kind of, SB 79 bill is one more step towards that. It's getting a lot of opposition, but the opposition is losing. So again, that may be a reach to tie into what we're talking about. Obviously, the most important story here was the Christians being persecuted in Nigeria. I hope we pray for them. I hope we have a mind to just send something to our representative saying, hey, to pressure the government, just to pressure their government to get this to stop. So that's all they're asking, and I think it's the least we can do. So thanks for listening. A little bit rough on that, I know, and I'm a little over time as usual. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for the comments. And we'll see you tomorrow. Ben and I think, will be taking on the Crusades. So that should be a fun, uncontroversial subject there. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for